So stay with us. Well, quite interesting headlines I'm seeing on the dailies, but I'm not going to be doing this alone. We're not doing this alone. We're joined by Mr. Sylvester Ebhodagie, who is the publisher, National Daily Newspaper. He joins us live in our Lagos studio. It's good to have you. It's good to see you again.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Good morning.
You know, let's just get right into it, because we had that conversation about a lot of things happening in the nation. But let's start with the Nigerian Tribune and see what's right there on the front page. The Nigerian Tribune is where we're starting off, and it leads with the aviation crisis. NNPC intervenes as airlines lament 3 days stock of fuel. You see, airline operators set to get licensed to import Jet A1. Reps NNPC marketers agreed to bring price down to 500 naira per litre. Nigerians may pay 120,000 naira for air ticket per seat on Yema. And you see Kerry saying cartel sells Jet A1 630 naira against 445 naira per litre. 120,000 naira for air ticket.
Wait, I thought you were going to start with the last one.
No, let me start with this one. What do you make of all this, really? Page 6.
You know, we live in a country where governments don't really feel they are responsible to the people until the government gets a sense that power truly belongs to the people. We have seen in climes where an increase in the price of a commodity as little as bread brought about protests in those climes. I mean, I'm not calling for protest, but we are calling for responsibility on the part of those who have a job, who have been hired to do a job. And that is government. Whether you like it or not, NNPC is a government agency, and it has responsibility to regulate this industry, and it can't claim the work of a cartel. What do you mean? You're looking at something that is an embarrassment to the country, something that is affecting business, livelihoods. People are not able to shuttle between cities, states. People are stranded at the airport. You know, yesterday I had to, practically cancel a trip because I had waited 8 hours to board a flight. 8 hours. It was so frustrating. And I mean, I could see, you could see chaos at the airports, people missing appointments, and this is unacceptable. And where we have a government, you're going to be blaming a cartel, and this is what we always say. When things are not being done the way they're supposed to be done, it's supposed to be sold at 445 naira, and someone is selling at 600 and something naira. How many have been arrested? How many are being prosecuted as we speak? So you understand that, I mean, it's like talking from two sides of the mouth. When those who have responsibility to act against what is happening are complaining, then what do they expect us to do? Maybe they are really calling for people maybe to take their own destinies in their hands. And this is unacceptable, and we're not going to let it happen or continue to happen. We should speak up against it. The airline operators have no choice. It costs so much to run an airline.
Well, it looks like they're brokering some sort of deal, but you know, the energy crisis just bogs my mind. Petrol, diesel, aviation fuel, there's power as well. It's just a lot. Page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. There's also politics. You see Wike, Obaseki.
Can we just talk about this power issue?
No, we will. It's actually across the headlines, the front page, so perhaps we'll touch on it again, but just so we can be done with the Nigerian Tribune. You see Wike, Obaseki at each other's throats. Edo governor is serial betrayer. Wike, Edo government will not accept a political bully. Obaseki, page 2. I know this is pre-election year, right? So you get to see all of this happening. But is this the right time for all of this? Or is there ever a right time for this? Is this how things like this should be handled?
There's never really a right time. It's just unfortunate that men of people who are supposed to be men and people of honor who occupy an exalted office like that of a governor would decide to wash their dirty linen in public. Of course, these issues have been on over a period of time now, but it's just a bubble that was waiting to burst, and that is where we are now. And I think it is about time the leadership of the party intervened to save the party, and of course the politics, not just the party, because it is a sour taste in the mouth of many of us to see that people like these cannot organize themselves in a way and then talk with some dignity, because words that are coming out from these men are it leaves much to be desired. And
well, one of them has said it's political gunshots doesn't kill anyone. That's Governor Keridolu. He said things like that are what political gunshots. So is this political gunshots for you as well?
Again, don't forget there is a generation coming, and these young people are watching, and this is uninspiring. And for me, that is just what it is, uninspiring. And they should sheath their swords, they should get back and discuss and talk like matured men that they are.
Well, a lot of other stories on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, but we just got started, so that's the paper for you.
The Vanguard newspaper seems to be towing the same line, in a way, with the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Gloves off, Obaseki Wike fight dirty over party issues, stories on page 5. Obaseki rises to Shaibu's defense, tells Wike PDP not his personal property. Adds Rivers governor can't intimidate, cow or procure Edo people for his ambition. Wike fires back at Obaseki, says he's a serial betrayer, asks him to apologize to Shomole. All of that we've dealt with. And of course, scarcity with only 3 days to shut down, that's according to airline, stories on page 27. The picture story on the front page, Kyari's wife collapses in court. That's also there on the front page. Let's just hope things get better with her. But there's this one that you really want to talk about, right above the nameplate. Energy crisis. Nationwide blackout as national grid collapses. The story is on page 6. I don't know what to make of it anymore. The only thing that comes to mind each time I hear of this is, I remember those newspaper, like classified ad spaces back in the day, where they will tell you on so day from so time to so time on so day, there's going to be a power blackout.
But now, maybe they have to tell us when there would be supply. It's quite sad, but then something gets my attention. How come this is happening just about the same time? There's scarcity of some of these products, where the diesel is going as high as over 600 naira per liter, and people have to power their generator sets. The petrol outside the popular metropolis, we have petrol selling as much as 250, 300 naira a liter. And so how come it is just about this same time that we are experiencing collapse in the grid?
You think there's a nexus somewhere?
There seems to be a connection. And that is, again, when these things happen again and again, and heads don't roll, who were those who have responsibility to manage these things? If today we hear that heads roll and people are sacked, people are laid off, people are relieved of their appointment because it's an embarrassment to Nigeria. We're talking about moving up, and then we're talking about going backward, where 7 states are affected, economic activities are being crippled, people are losing resources, and by extension, it's going to impact on the bottom line.
Well, as Kayode said, there's so much to cover, but I think this is one of those issues we'll get into later on this evening. We have someone to talk about this and a number of other issues related. But quickly, on the back page, Vanguard Sports, Qatar 2022 playoff, Black Stars to host Super Eagles in neutral venue. Blow for Ghana as Southampton defender shuns call-up. What does that mean? Find the details there.
It means it's not coming.
Okay. Is pounds over CDs or what? Mr. and Mrs. Okay, so there's a protest happening here. Mrs. is complaining. Your birthday was on the same date as the International Women's Day. 80% of those who attended your birthday party were women. 60% of them kissed you. Emeka, convince me that you're not a womanizer. And Emeka responds, they kissed me, but I didn't kiss them. Drops mic.
Well with Emeka this morning.
That's the Vanguard newspaper, Mapwe.
Well, I think that this cartoonist had better be careful. It's very good that he mentioned Emeka's name, because I know somebody whose birthday was on International Women's Day. He didn't do a party though, but at least he was a man. Well, look at this. Daily Trust has this for you. There's something to, something away. Whew. It's not exactly a very pretty headline, but look at it. Nigeria to lose 1.2 billion naira daily over Egypt oil export cut. That is what they are leading with this morning. Power outage worsens as electricity grid collapses. Minister operators in emergency meeting. So that story is on the front page this morning. Page 5 is where you'll find the details. They also have, and I know that we've already spoken a great deal about it. So for all of the papers to have it on the front page, it does tell you that we are in dire straits today. Mixed reaction over RCCG, PFN's new Department of Politics. It's page 12 read. I don't know what that is about. Do you have an inkling into what is going on in the churches, in the Pentecostal churches, over a Department of Politics?
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, you know, when you look at the way the country is going, everyone has a responsibility, not just the churches. Everyone should organize themselves to be involved. Don't forget, they are first and foremost citizens, and they are affected by the actions or inactions of those who are elected into office. So if as an organization, don't forget the church also is an organization, so they can organize the number of people that are under their sphere of influence to participate, and participate constructively and effectively. I think it's part of political education. If you ask me, it's part of increasing political participation by the citizenry, and I think we should encourage that across board. Of course, we have not said that they would only support their own, but if they can provide support structures for those who are interested amongst them, why not? And I think there shouldn't be a problem with that. It is needed at this time, because we want increased political participation. Don't forget, people often say, oh, INEC will not count prayer points, remember? INEC will not count vigils, INEC will only count votes. So now that there is an awareness, across board, I think we should encourage it and see how it pans out. That's my take on it. Not just the church, across various organizations, effective organization for participation is what is needed right now, because the next elections will be very decisive for us as a nation.
Interesting. So it's the awakening of the churches. Well, look at this. Jet A1 airlines marketers agree on 500 naira per litre for 3 days. I think we already saw on other papers how some of the airlines are saying they only have 3 days left before they shut down. But there's a different take on it here. Maybe it's the same thing they're saying. Airlines marketers agree on 500 naira per litre for 3 days. They also have this. Nigeria recorded 1,060 vaccine poliovirus cases in 2 years. That's from the Nigeria Primary Healthcare Development Agency. Look at this. Federal government redeems house allocation promise to 1994 Nations Cup winners. Finally, it's page 37 read. Let's leave it there for Daily Trust.
And turn our attention to New Telegraph. New Telegraph led with this story on the police planning to go on strike yesterday. And just to give an update, the story is still on the front page, but it's above the big one that says IGP warns personnel against strike, says planned action mutinous. It's not the lead. I just wanted to give us an update on that one, page 4. Then a big one. Varsities remain shut as ASU extends strike by 2 months. We've met all unions' demands, Minister insists. Ebhodagie calls on elite alumni to support institutions of learning. JAMB remits over 600 million naira to CBT centers. So it looks like we're in for a 3-month ASU strike. And I mean, we've talked about the energy crisis. I mean, other things now.
Crisis. I think government needs to step in, and I think we shouldn't just leave it to the minister. I think it's about...
Government needs to step in?
The presidency, I mean.
I mean, the president already gave marching orders to his chief of staff, to the ministers. That was like over a month ago.
We should... So the orders are not being followed. So what do? You see to it that the orders are carried out. And the response from the lecturers today, from ASU, is proof that whatever the president said should be done was not carried out. And for the interest of the future of our nation, it is important that the government gave the right attention to the concerns of ASU. And for God's sake, can we just raise these issues and make sure that we are not talking about strikes, but how to improve on the quality of education? I've often said, education is a major infrastructure. While you're building roads and building bridges and constructing railway lines, remember education is a major infrastructure that we must give attention to. And I think we've been paying lip service to it. And again, when you talk about people not being prepared for political offices, people not being prepared for the future, this is where it all begins. The time they are coming back to class, they are being hurried with examinations, and so people are now reading to pass. They are no longer studious. They just want to move to the next level, just want to move to the next class, and then they come out, and we again lament that we have half-baked graduates. These are the factors that aid the production of half-baked graduates, and so we need to give it attention.
Absolutely.
We need to give it attention.
Well, a couple of other stories on the front page, but I can't get it off my mind. The statement you made about INEC not counting prayer points. Add to it, INEC not counting retweets and all that. So people need to get involved in politics. It's just on my head. Maybe that's like my quote for today, absolutely. But that's the New Telegraph.
The Guardian newspaper this morning is talking money. And on the front page, CBN in fresh plan to wean banks off cash handling risks and costs. Find the details on the inside pages. Moves to license shared cash hub operators. Considers areas with large banking activities to accommodate individuals, corporate entities with huge cash needs. Restricted to transaction not below 500,000 naira. You know, when you hear some of these things, you're just wondering, okay, so I thought we had a, what's that policy? Cashless policy, and now this, are we missing something?
You know, CBN needs to up its game in terms of sensitization and enforcement of some of these policies that are in place. You know, in Nigeria, we are not bereft of policies. I mean, we have them, you know, again and again. We just remember the cashless policy that is supposed to be nationwide. But then you see it operational in some quarters, and in some others it is not. So what does CBN have to do? Make sure you increase education of the people, sensitization, and then have people in place to make sure that these policies are implemented, and that there are sanctions where people fail to meet with the standards that you have set. I mean, achieving cashless transactions, I think largely we were making progress with that, but I really want to know what probably has not worked in other parts. But where we function from, largely, some of us hardly sight cash for weeks, if not months, running.
Well, perhaps there's a need to, as you said, you know, put out enough education there, because on the one hand, that, to the best of my knowledge, that policy is still active, but now to say that the CBN has a grand plan to to take banks, deposit money banks, off the historical risk and cost of cash management, I'm wondering exactly what it means. However, maybe there is more details on the inside pages. The story actually continues on page 2. We'll find more there. Under the picture you see on the front page, and I think we've talked about this copiously, amid costly diesel, great collapses, 24 hours, beg your pardon, amid costly diesel, great collapses 24 hours after Genco's warning. Stories on page 2. Is that like saying we saw it coming? Well, we've spoken about this extensively already. Interestingly, the editorial of the Guardian newspaper this morning begins on the front page: Russia-Ukraine war and biting realities in Nigeria. Want to connect? Continues on page 12. That's the Guardian newspaper this morning. Malpe.
And I'll quickly run through leadership for you. They have the states crumbling under security, economic crisis. Governors warn. That is also on the front page. Lament VAT, stamp duty administration, politics around Paris Club refund. Skewed federal system has eroded states' identities. That's from Akeredolu, page 4. We'll give you all the details. And they also have that story from the airlines. Aviation fuel scarcity. With only 3 days to shut down operations. That's from the airlines. Target 120,000 naira for economy ticket. And then you also see this: NLC backs ASU strike as students consider vocational skills. Yeah, I wish I had some of those. Page 7 will give you details. Consumers to pay more for manufactured products. That is also coming on the front page of Leadership today. Let's leave it there for the paper.
Well, that's a wrap on a look at the dailies this morning. I'd like to thank Mr. Sylvester Ebhodagie, who's a publisher, national daily newspaper, for sharing your insights. I hope next time we do this, we'll have some, good stories, good news to review. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So, we'll go on a break now. And when we return, it's a buffet of sorts this morning. Major issues to look at. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us.